Cage Warriors is back this weekend and we're in Manchester as well. I've just gone over the Friday card in my previous video. Now we're going to hit the Saturday card. They're doing a bad job with it on Topology this time, so things aren't in order. There's fights missing. They need to sort the shit out for next time. So we're just going to stick to the Topology card because the fights that ain't on Topology ain't on the bookies anyway, so it's pointless going through them. So we'll scroll down to the first fight. Quite a lot of fights to get through, so we'll try to do it quick. So you got Damon Donald versus Christian Soda. I think these two were supposed to be fighting different opponents. The fights have fell through, so they've ended up matched against each other. Soda making his debut, so that's going to be challenging himself. See how he goes at pro, because it's a big difference than fighting amateur. So you always got to be cautious when you're betting on these debut guys if you're going to back them. Coming up against Damon Donald, who's already been in there 3 times as a pro. Last fight was 9 months ago against Cullen Parker, who's 3-4, but he's a tricky guy as well. He's got good stand-up, so tough fight to predict without knowing too much about how Soda's going to do it professional. I'm going to leave it off the bets, but if I had to pick, I'd go Damon Donald just because he's got the experience. Next fight, you've got O'Meal Brown versus Edgar Escaraga, however you pronounce that. O'Meal Brown, decent fighter. I think did he win the 50k competition? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he won the 50k when they did the tournaments. Coming up against Edgar Escaraga. I think this is a late notice fight because I'm not seeing this one until just now. So let's have a look at his record. He's beaten some good competition, but I can't see it being the level of competition like O'Meal Brown and the guys who he's been fighting. So you got to give the experience advantage to O'Meal Brown. He's been in there with some good guys at Cage Warriors level. He's got a good guillotine on him. Decent fighter, training at Renegade now. I'll probably back O'Meal Brown, but I'll probably leave it off just because I don't know a lot about this other guy. So I don't want to be getting hit with an upset win in the second fight. So next we've got Chris Price versus Tony Silva. Tony Silva is a bit of a journeyman, isn't he? 9-6. Chris Price coming off a win against another journeyman, Ellison and Ferrer, and he won that fight by DQ. He got kneed in the head. It was a nasty knee, and he got a big cut on his head, so no qualms with him taking the DQ win there. Before that, he beat Deck Dean, who's like I don't want to be disrespectful to people, so I'll just try to not leave that out. Michael Falk, 6-5. He lost there, and that Falk isn't great. I think the problem with Price is he goes all in for the finish early on, and if he doesn't get it, he starts to gas and fade. And even against these mid-level fighters with mixed records, he can have trouble with them. Don't get me wrong, he could go out there and look really good if he gets the finishes because he's dangerous. But then if he doesn't get the finish, then he leaves himself in a bit of a position where he's gassing. This Tony Silva, 9-6, and I think he's been in there with some tough guys, you know. Got beat by Tom Mullen. Tom Mullen's a good fighter. Lost his last fight against an 18-9 guy. Good fight, obviously just stepping in, fighting these guys on their own shows, and put in there to put up a fight but lose. Won a fight against Danny Dixon, and that Danny Dixon's won some fights. So Bobby Pallett before that. Yeah, I would say Chris Price is going to win, but I won't be putting it on just because there is always a risk that he can fade and then, you know, maybe lose a close decision. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'd say he'd probably win, but I'll leave it off. Next fight, you got Yousef Naz versus Ryan Campbell. Ryan Campbell lost his last fight by disqualification, but he was giving that Sean Fraser trouble in that fight, and that Fraser's good. And I think Campbell was on his way to winning that fight. That's why Fraser took the way out with the knee. Unlike the Chris Price one, if I remember rightly, this knee was nowhere near as bad. I think maybe he could have continued, but he took the DQ win. Which is weird because when you see him happen on UFC, a lot of the times it's just no contest in it. Yousef Naz, coming off of winning his last fight against that Cameron Stewart, looked really good in that fight. I picked him in that one. Lost before that against this Faramaz, and then a win before that. Good fighter, been around a long time, good striking. It's going to be a tough fight though, this one to predict. I'd probably leave it off. And if I don't know. I like Yousef Naz, I think he's good, but that Ryan Campbell looked really good in his last fight, so. And he was mixing it up well as well, yeah, good grappling. Fraser kept trying to Granby roll out of things. If I remember right, I hope it's the right fight I'm thinking of. But Campbell was doing a good job following him, rolling with him sometimes, and keeping control. And then he was landing good shots on the feet as well. So maybe I'd slightly side with Ryan Campbell, but probably won't put it on. Next fight, we've got Connor Wilson versus Florian Joska. Good fight, really good stand-up Connor Wilson. And then a lot of these fights where he's lost, he's been winning, and then he gets caught with like a submission. But it's not like he's giving it up. They're just like slick submissions he ends up getting caught in. He's a good fighter, Connor Wilson. I think he should beat Florian Joska. He lost his last fight, Florian, against David Scorano. Won his fight against Christian Tebet before that. So he's a decent fighter in his own right. Lost against Amir Malikampo, and he's one of the best at flyweight, I would say, in Cage Warriors. Yeah, so it'd be an even fight. I'd probably leave it off though. Again, I think Connor Wilson should win, but he does have a habit of getting caught. So yeah, I'll leave it off. Breen versus Mario Ferrer. Breen, he another one. He looks really good, and then sometimes he just leaves himself open there for a submission. He's a good striker again. Won his last fight against Elvis Oliveira by KO. I can't remember if it was that last fight he was having trouble with Elvis before he got the finish, maybe, and he was a massive favourite in that fight as well. And he's a favourite. I think actually it might be evens this fight. Yeah, I think Breen should get the win, but like I say, he just leaves himself open. This Mario Ferreira, I think he's had a bit of a mixed record at amateur, but been fighting in the IMAFs and stuff like that, so he's been in there with some good competition. Breen should get the win, but probably won't bet on it. Next fight, we've got Michael Pajani versus Tim Wilde. Now, this is a fight I think I will probably bet on. It's going to be a good fight, this one. Tim Wilde and Pajani, both entertaining fighters. Tim Wilde's definitely been in there with a tougher competition, coming from PFL and Bellator now. He's been in there with some good fighters. He lost his last two against Diakese and Souza, but good fighters, better than Pajani, I would say. And he even beat Saul by split decision a few years ago. Pajani, he was entertaining in his last fight, and he's always in there for a scrap. Lost his last fight before that against Mason Jones, obviously in the UFC now, really good fighter. Beat James Power, beat Marrera and Dylan Arnton before that. Yeah, it's going to be a good fight this, but I think Tim Wilde is very creative on the feet, and I think he's probably tricky enough not to get held down by Pajani. I don't think Pajani's got the grappling to keep him down for the full 3 rounds, and I think Tim Wilde will probably land the better shots on the feet. That's what I'm thinking anyway. I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with Tim Wilde on that one. Next fight, you've got Marius Michalowski versus Samir Selme. Is that how you say it? Selme. He looked good, Marius, in his fight before last. Lost his last fight against that Dival. But before that, he got a really good KO against Joshua Omordi. And he's had a few KOs over his amateur career as well. So, obviously got good striking as Marius. He's coming up against Selme in his last fight. He lost, that was 10 months ago. He was on that UAE Warriors. I think they have some good fighters on there though. Won his fight before that against the debut guy. And lost against a 2-0 guy. Bit of a mixed record, hasn't he? hard to tell with this one. I would side with Marius, but am I going to put it on? Probably don't know enough about it. We'll have a look at the odds. Next fight, Sheldon Ryan versus Brad Camps. Sheldon Ryan, decent, grinding wrestler, training at Next Gen now as well. He's a good fighter. He lost his last two. Probably should have won them, and then ended up losing. So he is a good fighter. Brad Camps, don't know a lot about him. I know he's had some finishes, but look at that, 2-19 guy. You can't count that for out. So he's 2-0 at pro, but not against decent guys. And he's had a mixed bag at amateur. He's had a few knockouts and that. You should say Sheldon Ryan should get this one done, but I don't know. We'll see what the odds are saying, but I'll say Sheldon Ryan. Next fight, Joe Fields versus David Scorano. Joe Fields, I rate him. I think he's a decent fighter. I think he's going to go far. He's had one loss at amateur. That was against Conor Walsh, who's a really good fighter as well. Yeah, I think Joe Fields gets this one done, to be honest. He's alright, Scorano, though. He's had some good wins as well. But, yeah, I think Joe Fields, he's probably going to be up there fighting for the title in not so long. So we'll go Joe Fields on that one. Next fight, Shane versus Farouk Ali Gadziev. Shane, heard a lot of good things about him. I think he's going to be one of the top prospects coming out of the UK. Probably see him on Contender Series or something in the next couple of years. He's 2-0 now. But I've heard a lot of good things about him training at Renegade, and I know they've been training at Subzone in Manchester a lot as well. I know a couple of people who train there, so I've heard good things about him. Farouk, I think he's training out of Manchester top team still. I would maybe train with him a few years ago. He's a decent fighter, but I feel like the talent of Shane Grum's probably going to be enough to get him the win here. I think he's a massive favourite as well. So next fight, Teddy Stringer versus Topal Merjoev. Teddy Stringer, Cage Warriors, another one of those MMA academy prospects, and you know they're getting the favourable matchups. Fighting a 5-0 guy here, but 5-0 against two. Teddy Stringer, good win in his last fight against Antonio Sheldon, who's a good fighter, better than this guy I would say, so I'm going to say Teddy Stringer, probably a massive favourite. Next fight, Adam Cullen versus Lucas Cruz. Adam Cullen, he's a kill or be killed in it. He's decent though, I rate him. Very entertaining fighter. Going up against this Lucas Cruz, he's no bum. He's 10-3. It's not like he's a journeyman. He's a decent fighter. But I feel like Cullen should get the win here. Probably leave it off if he's a massive favourite though, just in case. Next fight, James Power versus Omar Chugarev. Tough fight this one, 7-0, tough to predict. James Power, good striker. He trained at Subzone, so his grappling's going to be alright as well. Omar, 7-0. He's coming out of Finland. They've got a good, decent scene in Finland, so should be 7-0 fighting out of there. He's probably decent, probably got good grappling as well. I'll probably leave this fight off. Don't know much about this Omar, so I'll just better watch that one. Next fight, Gittins versus Giordano, the rematch. Gittins were dominating Giordano in the first fight. Giordano took the easy way out and ended up getting a no contest because he knew he was getting beat in that fight and he was gassed. And I think the same's going to happen again. He didn't pose no threat to Gittins, didn't have him in danger at any point. I think Gittins is going to beat him. So yeah, let's have a look at the odds and let's see what bet we're going to put on. So we'll start at the bottom. Adam Cullen probably going to win, but we'll leave it off at those odds because there's always a possibility that these massive favourites get upset. So it's one of the good things about Cage Warriors. They put on 50-50 fights most of the time. They're starting to put on these layups now, and I'm not a fan of them myself. That's what I always respect about Cage Warriors is it's always 50-50 fights, and they need to keep it that way because if they start watering it down and putting more of these layups on for like these MMA academy guys and stuff, It's just gonna dilute the level of it. Next fight after that, Chris Price versus Tony Silva. Said Chris Price, but we'll probably leave it off. You could have a look at putting an underdog on Tony Silva because he might cause the upset though. Connor Wilson should get the win. He's a good striker. We'll leave that off for now and maybe come back to it. Breen versus Ferrer. Breen should get the win. Even, so we might look at coming back to that one and putting that one on. Joe Fields, yeah, I'm happy with them odds. We'll put that on. Marius should get the win, but we'll leave them off at them odds. Tim Wild, we're going to put Tim Wild on as a slight underdog. O'Meal Brown, massive favourite, we'll leave that off. Shangram, massive favourite, leave it off. Sheldon Ryan, slight favourite, we'll leave it off. We're not going to put, it's just like, there's a lot of these fights, I've got an idea I think I'll win, but I'm not confident, like, where it's definitive, you know what I mean? We might have to go back and put a few of them on if we want a decent return, but we'll just see. Teddy Stringer, yeah, should get the win, but the odds are too wide. What is that actually? 9-2. That's like just over 1-4, isn't it? So we might put a few of them on to bump up the returns. Next fight, yeah, Yousef Naz versus Ryan Campbell. You could have a look at putting Naz on as an underdog, but he looked good in his last fight, that Campbell. James Power versus this Omar Tugarev. Even fight, even odds. And then 9-2 Gittins to beat Giordano. We're going to put that on because I'm confident in it. So if we just put the 3 on, you're getting 30 back, but what's point in that? We're not here for, mate, no 30 quid. 35 quid. What you could do though is you could combine them with the last card. So I think off the last card we went with Nel Ariano, Daniel Bainbridge, and Aidan Lee. So we put that on as a 6 and we put 2 on together on fights where I'm pretty confident in, you're getting 170 back. So you could do that, or you could just put it on as 2 separate bets. Let's have a little look at bumping the odds up on this one with some of the favourites. So let's say Adam Cullen gets the win. Say Breen gets the win. Connor Wilson gets the win. Shangram's a bit too wide to put on. Let's say Sheldon Ryan gets the win. Teddy Stringer gets the win. And we'll leave it at that. And the tenner on that, it's 8 fights to win it. A lot can go wrong in 8 fights. But you could look at putting that on. I'll put whatever you want on. Anyway, if you're still here and you liked the video, give us a follow, subscribe and like, and PFL's on as well. Maybe while we're on it, I might just get the PFL card done as well today. We'll see.